Alright, y'all ready for some rack and pinion? I got my setup here. I got a partial assembly started. It looks like I got quite a bit done, and I'm going to talk about it. Again, I have my laminated sheet with the picture on it. And what you'll see are there's two guide blocks that guide this rail that has gear blocks in it. And then the input gear, which is, it's a simple gear, or it's a spur gear is the name for it. It's held in this metal bracket. This is one of the few mechanisms that does not use the girder. What we're looking at on this mechanism, however, is we are converting rotary motion to linear motion. It's not reciprocating because the only way to get it to change direction is if you change your input direction. On the crank and slider and cam and follower, you get reciprocating motion with one constant direction. You're not changing it. Some things I want to point out here. On this metal bracket, I've placed my bearings on the inside of it, and that's a little tricky, but I like putting the bearings on the inside because that eliminates the need to use more spacers. Then it gives me more drive shaft to work with when I place these collars on. I did try and place some washers in there. However, with the machine screws set the way they are with these bearings, this is a pretty solid fit up. This thing will, the drive gear will only spin, it won't move back and forth. It's important that it stays in line, so it has to have something that's going to guide it. So if you put your bearings on the outside, you're going to need to put some spacers in there. But I put my bearings on the inside to kind of eliminate that. Gives me more room to work. I'm just using the sprocket as a handle, and I like that because in the example, the handle that they give you, you have to place the project way out on the edge of the base plate for the handle to clear, and if you use something smaller, you can turn it quicker and you can place it more in the middle of your base plate so it looks a little more uniform. On these guide blocks, I fastened these to the bottom of my base plate with the shortest machine screws, and I left one out on purpose because I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. These machine screws will thread into the plastic. However, as you're doing it, you need to apply a little force so that the teeth will actually dig in. So if you're using a brand new guide block and you're trying to put the machine screws in, they won't always grab right away. You have to press in a little bit. You have to apply a little force to get those in. So I have all those fastened in now. They're pretty secure. Notice how I keep them close to the bracket, and I also keep them aligned. That gives the rack and pinion plenty of room to work back and forth. Now I have these gear blocks. I have 3 on here already. I'm going to add a 4th one, so I was waiting to do that because I wanted to talk a little bit about that as well. There are 3 holes in there. They use the gold screws. You do not need to use all 3 holes. 2 is plenty. But when you get the gold screws, you have to use the shortest gold screw. If you use a gold screw that is too long, it will bottom out, and then it will stick out of your assembly, and it will get in the way. These gold screws use the long, skinny Allen wrench. And they do have a little bit of thread locker on them, so there is a little bit of force to get those assembled. But make sure they go in all the way. Do not over-tighten them, just snug them up. Just like with the silver collars, you don't want to over-tighten them. You just want to snug those up. So far, you folks are doing a great job with that. I haven't seen any stripped out yet. I've seen some come close. So don't use a lot of force. Snug it up. Don't over-tighten it. So I'll get that one in there. So there's the gear block set up. So this is the rack. And I'll put those on the guide blocks. So the rail goes through the guide blocks. I have to feed that in. You'll notice the inputs gear spins a little now. So here is our mechanism. And you can see that what we're doing here is we're taking rotary motion and there I went too far, and converting it into linear motion. It's not reciprocating because I had to, in order to get the output to change direction, I have to change the input as well. So it's not reciprocating. It's just linear. Rotary motion into linear. The input is generally rotary. The output's generally linear, but you can grab the linear and make the rotary move. So you can grab the output gear and make the input gear move. Place that you might see a rack and pinion would be on a steering column in an automobile. Now, when you're done with this project, as with any, small parts go back in the drawer. Make sure you don't have any extra parts in the drawer. Keep the minimum. Keep your fasteners in the drawer with all your parts, as well as the laminated sheet. Make sure I sign off on it, and then more than likely on another project you're still going to be using this girder. So until next time, good luck.